because I forgot about the intro. It's just us. Hi, welcome to Claim Your Power. We're back with Debbie G this week. Well, I'm back this week. I was off for a week or two, I think.
You were.
And so Debbie's back better than ever.
I am.
Or well into your healing journey of your issue that you had.
Yeah, I am. Hi, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We both need to perk up a little bit, I think.
Well, that's what we were just talking about. That I today was just a busier day for me. I am healing almost into my 7th week of a broken leg, which is no longer broken now. It's like just healing. It's just weak, and I'm doing my physical therapy, my hair, my nails, doing all those things that I
What's your
haven't
version
done.
of physical therapy?
No, I did leg
Break a
presses.
major bone and you need hair and nails to be better, and you're all good.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I don't even know who couldn't agree with that, but so yeah, there has definitely been some major stuff going on out there in the world. What I found interesting is you leave the desert and you go to the beach, wind up in Hurricane Central.
Yeah. The first hurricane in recorded history to hit Southern California, and it hit the desert. And it actually hit the desert. I went to the beach and we planned this beach trip weeks ago, probably months ago. And we like to get away from the desert this time of year, and we head out and stay someplace on the ocean. And we've been renting houses on the ocean. And we get out there on Thursday of last week, and I look at my phone like, oh shit, there's a hurricane coming. I didn't know.
Yep.
So, but the hurricane ended up going toward Palm Springs and hit Palm Springs where we live much worse than it hit where we were. So that was
Wasn't
interesting.
Isn't that just bizarre?
Yeah, that it kind of went up through the middle of California. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
going in California. And of course, Palm Springs got way more rain than it can handle or is used to. And everything here is kind of torn up right now because of that. Because Palm Springs is the desert and everything
Yeah.
roasts in the sun, including your roof and all the roadways. And it cracks and it dries out. And you don't know that you have roof leaks until it
Right.
rains. The house that we're in now, well, the house we own has a major roof leak because there's still a hole in the ceiling from the fire. There's
My
multiple
God.
holes where they put the fire out. And we got water there, obviously, but it's still waiting to be rebuilt from the fire. The rental house we got back to on Monday, it's like nothing happened here. 2 streets over, completely flooded, mud everywhere. You can't drive down the road. Big
No way.
disaster. The rental house has those string party lights out back.
Yeah.
Nothing was on the ground. 2 little cushions had fallen over on chairs, and it's so weird. It's like nothing happened back there. No leaves, no debris. The pool, I don't know if the pool guy came that morning first thing, which would have been
Right.
really unusual right after a hurricane. But it's like nothing happened back here. It's so weird. But when I first moved to Palm Springs in 2018, I rented a mid-century house. You know the house, 60
Yeah.
years old, had a
I
flat
remember
roof,
and
and it was a very rainy year that year. I guess it was El Nino or something. And I had 14 roof leaks. So it started raining, and I'm running around like, okay, I'm out of buckets, I'm out of pails, I'm out of big pots. What am I going to do here? 14 leaks in that house. It was crazy.
Why'd you stopped at 14? I mean, I'm glad, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, 14 was a lot. It was a little drippy in the house during the rainstorm. But other than that, you never know that you have a roof leak here because it never rains here. So what's happened here is the roads all floated away because it's all brittle and cracked. And so when it rains, all of that pavement just floats away.
I
So
just
it's
think it's
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting getting around. And coming home on from the beach should have taken about hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It took us 5 hours to get home because the freeway was closed. We had to go through the mountains,
My
and
God.
everybody had to go through the mountains. So we just sat and sat and sat and sat on these little twisty mountain roads. So
Oh, you took that road.
yeah,
You took the El Toro
yeah,
pass.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Okay.
a big fan of the 10,000-foot ravine next to the, not 10,000 feet, but it feels like it next to the car, and we got stuck sitting there for like an hour. Like, okay, there it is. Oh, well, make peace with it. So that was the drive home. But the rental house, those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, the rental house that we stayed in at the beach was bizarre, delightfully bizarre. It was this 4-story, right on the ocean, 35-year-old house. Looks like a time capsule from the mid 80s. Somebody spent a fortune making it really weird. Every floor was different. It was very eccentric. We had mermaids coming out of the walls and on the ceiling. And the funniest thing in the the main bedroom, the main bedroom was the whole top floor. It was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And you lay in the bed and there are these mermaids. It's like an under the sea mural painted on the ceiling. And the mermaids all had giant breasts.
Giant.
So the homeowner obviously got to pick his version of mermaids because there's all these mermaids with these giant boobs.
That is the funniest thing ever.
I'm like, doesn't that kind of defy physics under the water that, you get, doesn't seem efficient for a mermaid to have such big boobs, but they did. So that was entertaining.
Doesn't seem efficient for them.
And then the bottom level was like this, the top level was like French. The TikTok I put up this week is in front of the fireplace. If you saw the TikTok I did, like this French mantle with an antique clock and candelabras, and then you look up and it's big boob mermaid time on the ceiling, and the bathroom had a giant mermaid coming over the tub. It was just incredible. The second level was like modern, sleek and modern, and then the lower level was like lodge with deers on the fireplace and all kinds of taxidermy and guns and just all kinds of stuff. And I've rented a lot of houses, a whole lot of houses, and I've never for vacations, and I've never rented one where they left so much valuable stuff in the house. I mean, all kinds, like expensive binoculars and all these collection of steins. And I mean, it was like we were literally staying in somebody's house, not just like an Airbnb. So it was a very interesting experience.
I love that. And is it like a VRBO, right?
Yeah.
Where you
Oh yeah, yeah. We had the whole house, and we could have had 10 people there probably, but it was just for the two of us and the dogs. But we wanted to be on the ocean, and that was the whole thing. And literally, the ocean was right behind the house, so that was nice. So that's how we spent the hurricane. I'm glad you're doing better, and I see people are jumping on now. So thank you all for joining us live. We are going to talk about something other than my trip. We're going to try to give you something useful in your life in the next 30 to 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So I have something I want to do. You always have a good topic, but my topic of the day, because somebody asked this, I'm putting one or two TikToks a week out now, and they're getting a lot of activity. And a lot of people will watch one and not the whole thing. And I understand that. And they'll ask tons of questions about the one that are actually answered in other videos. But I talk about detuning ego. And I say we don't eradicate our ego, we detune our ego.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like in this we're in duality. So we have ego and we have source. And you can have them balanced, or you can have them out of balance. Or you can have more ego.
Yeah.
And you can have more source, but they sort of do this. You can't just raise ego and source, because the more your ego amps up, the more your ego is serving to drown out source. But the drowning out of source has a purpose. The drowning out of source is to give you your human experience, because there's still duality in the ego, in that there's things that you really want to experience that are ego driven. I want to have a shiny new car. I want to have a big house. I want to have great, vacations and experiences. That's still ego driven.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the other side of that, the fear and the comparison. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I was treated poorly as a child, and I took on those beliefs into adulthood. So all of that stuff is ego. So the good part of ego is that it's a discerner of preference. I like this. I don't like that. I want to experience this while I'm manifested as a human being, and I would rather not manifest that. And the cool thing is that we can detune our ego to be the discerner of preference and have the experience without it being the main driver of our life. We can have it be down here where source is more up here. Source is appreciation of all things. It's all abundance. And the more we trust that, we know the more we receive of that. And so that's the difference between ego and source. And that's the purpose of ego.
It is ego is a great discerning tool. I mean, there's no contentment in ego, though.
Well, no, because it wants, right? The ego's about wanting. I want to experience, and I don't want to experience. Where source is, it's all good.
Right. Well, I've been trying to share this out, but I also had something I had pulled up because I wanted to share with you guys. Because the thing is that we have these things we want to do, we want to accomplish, and when we do them, how often do we get ready for the next thing or the next whatever that's coming, rather than being, and I think that just being in the contentment and celebration of accomplishing the thing. Move, 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 going, going, going. But you're right, because ego wants more. I need this. I want that. And it's a huge stretch. But what's wrong with just being content for a moment and being okay with just being in that energy of contentment? Contentment's working in contentment is like a whole thing. I'm dealing
Well, I
with
think
right
as
now.
a detuning tool to ego, contentment is wonderful. I do think, however, if you park yourself in contentment, you're going to manifest something to disrupt your contentment. Because if you're not expanding in your contentment, then your purpose of being physically manifested is not being fulfilled. But
Yeah,
the good news is you really don't have to intentionally worry about that because it's going to happen no matter what.
right. And taking well, I had this like huge accomplishment just a few days ago. My degrees came in, right?
Oh, cool. Congratulations.
3. I and social behavior science. I'm pretty proud of this. It's pretty cool.
You should be.
Communication, behavior, uh, human behavior, and self development. Contentment, and that's what I mean by that. Because my first reaction was, well, got to go to the next one.
Yeah, why not stay and savor that for a while? And you'll be motivated out of contentment naturally, but we are taught to drive, 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 push, push, push. That's the matrix. That we always have to be wanting that next thing. I think a lot of times we're so steeped in the belief of consumerism these days. Everything is really consumerism if you think about it. And that programming that we're receiving, that we're never good enough, we're never enough, nothing is ever enough, we've always got to want more. We see people caught up in that mindset, and they think if I just get that one more thing, I'm finally going to be happy. And they never get there because they don't know how to be happy with what is. And I think that that's where billionaires come from. I need that one more thing, that one more, ring on the ladder of success or wealth or whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not judging any of this stuff. But I do think we see a lot of people that are operating at the top of the financial abundance pyramid that seem really unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me, the unhappy, always complaining billionaires of the world, but they're out there and they're all on Twitter apparently.
On
And
Twitter.
they're always disgruntled about something and angry about
Yeah.
something, or push, 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 and drive, 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 and you got to do this and you got to do that. Well, who says? Who says we have to do anything? Who says we have to go to that next level? We don't. It's a preference. If you want that as a preference, it's fine. But having a preference, I would like to experience that, is very different than I must have this. I'll never be happy without it. Or I don't even believe happiness is possible. So I might as well just get things and experiences while I'm here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that 100%, because that's really where it sits with this. I'm choosing to go to school. That's where I was applying myself. And then I chose to go ahead and see if I challenge myself. Could I finish this? But I don't have this feeling like I have to go to the next level. At first, I thought about, oh, let me go see, but then I slowed down, just like we were talking about. But it's that ego drive to, but the thing is that what I'm doing, I'm just doing it because, and I will tell you, it's kept my brain active through some stuff.
Well, I think that's good too, because you
Oh,
can get
yeah.
dull. You know?
Well, that was the thing, and quite frankly, I've been sitting with, okay, well, what do I want to do when I grow up? Nothing.
I
Nothing.
think most people in their 50s are thinking that, so you're not alone.
Can I tell you what the answer is? Nothing. I want to do shack shit. So just to be clear, what do I want to do when I grow up? I want to travel. You know what? Just doing what you're doing, David. That's a good example of so out of the matrix, so out of the thing. What am I going to do? Just go stay at some beach houses for a minute, just
Yeah.
because. Yeah,
I'm all about, let's go stay at the beach house, let's make some TikToks, and let's get the book published because I worked on it for 5 years. But that's pretty much what my life is right now.
yeah, and I love that. And the thing is that there's a lot less stress with it.
Oh yeah. You were around for this a couple of years ago. Boot camp got super, super busy. Taya boot camp got super, super busy. And I sort of put on my old corporate hat, and we started
Yeah.
creating all of this structure and all these training programs. I had 19 people working in the business at one time. And I kind of caught myself and realized, what am I doing here? I'm kind of putting myself right back in that old machine that I got out of to do this. This should be fun. This isn't fun anymore. This is goals and hiring marketing people and bringing people in that are changing my message. And, I just had to like let all that stuff implode actually. And then after a period of just letting it kind of sit, then I got re-energized, and now I've learned I don't want it to be a big machine. I want it to be something where I'm very hands-on, and it's not, some massive thing that I have to have. Oh, I have to have this many people. And, that's all ego stuff too. And I will live just as well and enjoy it just as much, keeping everything kind of cool and not creating all of that corporate structure and putting all that corporate energy into it, especially the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Every time that stuff started coming on, it was like, oh, you got to scare people, make them think their life is going to be hell if they don't take your program. Like, well, that's bullshit. I don't believe that. And that's not even what the practice is. Not that. The practice is not that. How in the world can I sell you a practice about appreciating all that is and bringing peace and joy into your life, and then scare the hell out of you to get you to get into it? That doesn't make any sense at all. So that stuff never worked for me. And that's when I kind of just walked away from, the kind of 3D marketing programs. They're out there. I tried them. I won't try them again. But it's like I needed to have that experience to teach myself that I didn't need to do that. Which is
Well,
what
that
life is, right? We screw up, we spin out, we have these experiences, and then we learn. We have to teach ourselves. We're stubborn sometimes.
that's
We
it.
think we know better until we realize we really don't. You just have to let go and trust.
Yeah, we don't. So that's the thing. You know,
Somebody said bravo. I don't know who this,
so I
who
don't know who
this
said it.
is.
Bravo. I know, bravo, right? Seriously.
They're probably like,
Well,
bravo. We don't have to watch any more of David's marketing crap. It's been
well,
a couple of years since that was out
so
there. So.
listen to this. Okay, I'm going to dedicate today's episode to Wayne Zwick, who is the father of my kids. And 7 years ago, he left this earth. 7 years. But the gift takes a while to hit. So let's slow down and to appreciate life. And what I encourage people to do is to kind of do that. I know the energies have been a little bit tough, and I know things happen, and I know life happens, but you know, it also doesn't happen. So you might, so there's this appreciation of just being, and the contentment word seems to be very prevalent right now, because within contentment is just this peacefulness of being, of this deep appreciation of all that is and all that will ever be. And for those who have left us already, they left us with a really big gift of reminding us that we have the opportunity to choose to live. And I think it's been really important. But what you're talking about right there, if to wind it into corporate America, wind it into Taya being a corporate entity, and all of those things looked great because that's what we were taught looks great. But what you're really talking about is a more gentle approach that I think really works better, because it's about taking each day in that appreciation. So, with that, what aren't we stopping to appreciate in our day today? So, it's right now, all of you, can you type in the chat, whether you're watching now or on the replay, what is it that you have forgotten to appreciate today? Whether it's yourself or the dog, I don't care, you know, your toe, my leg. I'm giving my leg lots of love. So thank you for
Well, and taking
healing.
it a little deeper too, what transgressor are you failing to appreciate? Because that's Taya is all about appreciation of all that is, including your life's transgressors. And of course, we know when we authentically, not bypassing, not all of this, love and light stuff, it really is authentic appreciation. When we find authentic appreciation for a transgressor, we've detuned it of its power over us. Very
Mm,
powerful practice.
super powerful.
And what happens is when you detune through appreciation, you then receive the clarity on the value of the transgressor. You will
Absolutely.
ultimately receive clarity on how you manifested it, why you manifested it. It's all your manifestation. Everything that you're experiencing is your own creation. And a lot of times we have things in our past that we don't want because we've been demonizing them for so long. It's a big leap to then start appreciating that stuff. And what we're saying in Taya, and what the stream has always taught us, just appreciate it for the fact that it was an experience that you had and you survived it, if nothing else.
That's it.
Because if you didn't survive it and you are no longer physical, then you have complete clarity in that state on what it's about, and there's no need to detune. You are automatically detuned when you cross over, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you're physical and we're holding on to this stuff and we're judging it and we're suffering in the judgment of it, we're lowering our vibration, then we're creating that experience. And so when you just learn to appreciate just for the sake of this is what was, this is what was, this is what I experienced. And the more I demonize it, the worse I feel. And I've noticed that the more I demonize it, the more of things like that tend to show up in my life.
I
But
really want to.
what does the Matrix tell us to do? Sorry, the Matrix says exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
You got to demonize it. You got to judge it. You got to label it. It's evil. It's demonic. It's wrong. They're a monster. That thing was not fair. That shouldn't have happened to you. All of those words do nothing to help you heal. They
They
might be
don't.
well intended. I understand that, but they're not really helping you heal.
Correct.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just, you said attracting it to you. And it reminded me of a conversation I was having with David Reed Watson this morning about being a magnet, seeing yourself as being that magnet, because everything is being, you're a magnet and you're attracting everything to you. But yeah,
I
that's
like
it.
that. Yeah, I get a lot of. I hear from a lot of people too that will talk about, well, how am I supposed to raise my vibration when I live with a narcissist? I hear that N word a lot. And I will tell you that I didn't. It's funny looking back now. I think about my mother and my father, and if you want, I didn't really ever use the term narcissist. They were probably pretty narcissistic. You know, I had a mother that didn't want to have kids, that wanted to be all about herself, and a father that didn't like his family life, so he up and left us behind and went and started a different family that was more. That could probably be labeled that, but I just never thought of them that way, and I'd long since
Yeah.
detuned them. You know, before I
Yeah.
started hearing words like that. So I did manifest a situation with a narcissist, as you know. You knew me then a few years ago.
I did.
And the first thing I did when I started catching on, like, oh, this is weird behavior, and why am I putting up with this? And I'm like ensnared. What is this? And then it hit me. You know, the narcissist thing came to mind, and the first thing I thought was, how am I creating this? How am I the magnet for this narcissist? There's part of me, my own narcissism, was co-creating that relationship. And I went and like did a little bit of Googling, like, oh, what's out there on narcissists? Well, I didn't like any of the teachings on narcissism because all of it placed the other person in you're a victim. They're awful. They're evil. They're terrible. You have nothing to do with this. And there was nothing in that for me. Great. I'm a victim and they're terrible. That's great. What do I do with that? And it ended up being a magnificent experience for me, a magnificent experience knowing this person. And I will say this person's pretty extreme. This person was with someone before they met me, and after they met me, that person committed suicide. And it wasn't the first relationship that ended in suicide for this person. So it's extreme, but that's their experience, and I'm completely at peace with that. My experience was I didn't take the victim route. I recognized that, hey, this is reflecting something that I've got going on, and I know that I did. And what am I gaining from the experience? I now know what it's like. I can now identify with someone that I'm working with, perhaps, that is ensnared in something like this, because it's very confusing. When you're an intelligent person capable of critical thinking, or at least you think you are, and I'm talking about myself, and you are, getting to know someone, and your behavior is changing, and you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do to jump through hoops for this other person, and you kind of look at yourself like, what the hell am I doing? What is this? It can be a very confusing time, and I'm sure very frustrating. But when you claim ownership of that and start looking in the mirror, how am I creating this? Wow.
Absolutely.
That's where the empowerment comes from.
Well, accountability with vulnerability is huge. And they say That and when I say they say, studies and research shows that accountability will be the number one thing that will kill a relationship. And the reason accountability is because the person is unwilling to accept responsibility, responsible, the ability to respond. They've lost the ability to respond, to be accountable for that. And when that leaves, when that's not present, or is better said, um, that's the breakdown of communication. That's the breakdown of everything. Because then it is coming from no other state but victim. Because when we're in our accountability, when we're really taking account, the ability to take account for ourselves, the ability to respond to that, that can really lead to some deep appreciation work. But it's also hard because look, I don't know, behind accountability, the flip side of that is shame. The reason I won't, if I don't take accountability for something, is because I feel shame about it.
Yeah. You're not ready to yet in most
Yeah, and that
cases. Yeah.
feels really scary, and if I'm not in a place where I feel that I'm safe to express that, I'm really working on that whole feelings need to feel safe thing, like, what the hell? Who safe? I'm safe anyway, like, regardless of whether they receive what I have to give and what I'm saying. But back to the accountability, it's definitely it can be triggering because it's been so much easier since I've been one to say you did it and no, I didn't do it. And you know something? My mom told me how cute I was. I was a cute girl and I was cute always. And for flip's sake, adults didn't speak to me the same way. And why didn't they think I was as cute as my mommy did? I would like to know, which taught me no damn accountability. It's their fault. They just don't see how cute I am.
Yeah.
God bless it.
Yeah, we're not taught a lot of accountability. And I want to be clear too in all
Correct.
of this that accountability is not beating yourself up for what you've,
Correct.
because none of us are perfect. We all spin out. We all have my oh, it's still there. We all have, ups and downs vibrationally. We're not here to have perfect lives. We're not here to be perfect
Correct.
people. And nobody is. There's no evidence that that's supposed to be. So when you claim ownership of something, it's not, oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did this. Why am I doing that? It's not that. It's, hey,
Correct.
I'm ensnared in this narcissist situation. How did I attract this? Let me get some clarity. Let me just appreciate that I'm recognizing it. Let me appreciate what this is doing for me.
Yeah.
It's an experience. When you sort of cross over the line into Tyaville and you start authentically seeing everything that you encounter as just an experience, neither good nor bad, that's moving out of 3D, in my opinion. I saw something on Facebook today or yesterday. It was about, the Earth is going through this ascension and we're going from 3D to 5D. And I know there are people that have all of that in their belief system, and that's fine. I believe the true ascension from 3D to 5D, if there is something like that, is when you realize that the world is already perfect the way that it is, because it's not supposed to be perfect. And we are living in duality, and we do have these highs and lows that are ego driven, that humanity creates a lot of for ourselves. Of course, the environment creates storms and stuff. We know that. But humanity creates most of its calamities, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we are simply having an experience. And if we're all eternal beings and we choose that belief, you don't have to, but if you do, because there's two roads there. Either you're an eternal being and this is just a blip, a grain of sand in an ocean of experiences that you're going to have as an eternal strand of consciousness, which is what I choose to believe, or we're not, and you die and you cease to be, and then what difference does it make anyway?
Right.
It's win-win either way. Either you're eternal, unless you believe in that heaven hell thing, and that didn't work for me when I was in the fourth grade, and it
Don't
certainly
work for
doesn't
me
work
either.
for me now.
Hmm.
This is an experience. Whether you die and you're done and that's it, or your consciousness moves on to something else, which is my personal belief, then it's just an experience. So death shouldn't be feared. The pain experience is something that you move through. You're moving through physical pain.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big
And you move
time. Yeah.
through it. It sucks to suffer in it, but then you move through it. And then
Hmm.
when you're healed, you've now had the experience. You know what it's like to break that bone. And I know what it's like to have a lower back issue, and soon, hopefully, I'll know what it's like to have surgery for that. And there's nothing wrong with that. This race in spirituality, well, you've got to heal yourself mentally because you can heal yourself mentally. I think we do heal ourselves mentally, absolutely. But sometimes it's okay to employ medicine in the healing process, especially if it's bone related. You and I both have something like that going on that, hey, my spine is like 50% misaligned. Can I think my way into healing that? Possibly. Can I really wrap my mind around doing that and allow that to be and be patient with it? No, I'm not there right now. I'm much more in the
Yeah,
let's go see the surgeon and get it fused back where it's supposed to be and move on. The path of least resistance is that for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Source isn't judging that. If everything is a creation of source, so is medicine. So is allowing healing to be mental and spiritual and aided by the right co-creators of your healing. It's fine. There's nothing that exists on earth that is wrong or bad for us to desire.
absolutely.
It wouldn't exist if it were.
I'm in alignment with that. That's the way I see it. It is. Like, to argue that something should be or should have been or blah, 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 blah,
Yeah, well,
blah,
I
blah,
talk about
blah,
the
blah,
should
blah.
not be label. 100% of our suffering is rooted in the labeling something as should not be. I'm
Right.
sure when you were in massive pain from your injury, you had some should not be moments. You went down your spiral and probably, I mean, that's to be expected. You know,
Well, yeah, I did. I said, here's the thing. Right before it happened, I had a thought. I really shouldn't be doing this in bare feet. There's a little slight slope where I was
oh, you
stopping
manifested
too.
the solution that you just ignored.
I was like 2 minutes before it happened. And rather than me stopping because I was already down my spiral, to stop, breathe, and listen. See, because my whole, I it was just a thing. It was a big. It's been an interesting experience, but to be in the healing, to allow the pain, to be accountable for the fact that I didn't slow down.
Well, you were building some momentum also, just like I was building momentum in 2022 toward the
Yeah.
fire that burnt the house. I know you were building some momentum toward an event for you that would move you back into the vibrational space that you like to be in. And we both have experienced that this year. This year more recently, and me at the end of last year.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
do that. And that's part of the
Mhm.
beauty of the human experience is the imperfection of it. And we
Yep.
suffer. I met the fire and joy, and that was an amazing experience for me to do that. But I've had experiences since then that have been annoying and delays on the house, and certainly I have. And it's all a journey. It's all an experience, and I wouldn't trade it because now I know what it's like. Now I've experienced it, and it's
Yep.
it's why we're here is to expand our consciousness in the having of the human experience. And Source is not judging, the degree is good and the broken bone is bad. It's just all experiences. It's expanding you as a being eternally and having these experiences.
I agree. The thing that comes up for me right now in this topic is also looking at the curiosity and the asking of questions. Because what I've been noticing is, okay, so let's say that you're talking about dealing with narcissism or narcissistic traits that we learn from that have been passed down. And we recognize that they're there. But then we recognize also that we're maybe dealing with that type of personality once in a while. Well, then it comes down to I get to choose the reaction, period. It doesn't matter what somebody wants to label whomever for whatever. The fact of the matter is that the experience and the accountability lies within myself because I choose how I react. And if I'm choosing to react in a way that is from my ego, I'm probably going to get met with even more. Whatever is transpiring is going to get worse. I have a decision and a choice to make whether or not that I want to react to that, and not in a way of I'm going to go into silent avoidant and choose to be an avoidant. No, but more in I don't need to react. How about accept? That's what they're saying. Okay. They believe this thing about you that they're saying that's so outlandish, you literally go, huh? Okay. Instead of needing them to explain it, just go, that's your
Yeah.
that's that's your prerogative. You know, Bobby Brown had that song. It's my prerogative. All right, so let's all exercise our prerogative. Let other people have their damn prerogative
Oh yeah.
to think what they want, be what they want, but realize that ultimately the only direction to look is yourself, and your only control you've got is you. And in fact, that's not even true completely either, because you can go down like I did
Well,
and wind up
you're on
someplace
a
you don't.
vibrational journey no matter what, and the
Yeah,
idea that you're
yeah,
just going to go up and stay up all the time, there's the value is not there. The value is in going
that's
down, manifesting
fair.
an obstacle, going up in appreciation of it, and solving it.
Right.
That's the process of creation of all things, right there. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up,
Sounds
down.
like a video game to me.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, video games are a reflection of the universe.
Seriously.
You overcome obstacles, you win a prize, you backtrack, you fail, you falter, you die, you come back again and do it, and you get a little better every time that you do it. Think about it. The universal process of creation is really behind most of our stories, novels, movies, things like that. There's sort of that high low, high again.
Yep.
You start out on a high, and then there's going to be some sort of a spin out, and then you go back to some sort of a high at the end, or at least clarity at the end. Video games are the same thing. It's a reflection of the universal process of creation. It speaks to us. We innately like that universal process of creation. And it's so funny that we like that, but then we get in our lives and we've allowed the matrix to teach us to get stuck in the low.
Yeah.
That was so wrong. It was so bad. I can't ever appreciate that. It was the worst thing ever. I was a victim. They were a monster. It was terrible. It should have never happened to me. All of that I just said is chosen. Those are chosen beliefs and chosen thoughts. And the reason I'm saying they're chosen is that you've picked them up along the way in the matrix for sure. But once you claim ownership of the fact that, hey, those are all chosen, I don't have to choose that anymore. I can start just appreciating, and I do mean authentic
Mm-hmm.
appreciation.
Yeah.
Debbie years ago introduced me to a term that I'd never heard before, spiritual bypassing. I'm like, what is that? She knew all the spiritual stuff that I had no clue about. So, and I realized pretty quickly, it's when you're kind of just being about love and light, and you just want to be positive all the time, and you sort of gloss over everything. Yeah, and that doesn't work. That's why I always say authentic appreciation.
Yeah.
Even if the only authentic appreciation you can find in the beginning is just I experienced it, it's what was,
Yeah.
I survived it, period. And then you build momentum from there. You don't have to start with, the worst thing that ever happened in my life. Yeah, sure, I'm just going to appreciate that out of the blue. No, it doesn't work like that. If you spend a lifetime demonizing something, you can't just flip a switch and change that mindset. You've got to work on that. But when you do detune it through appreciation, then it doesn't haunt you anymore. It's not a transgressor. It's not dragging you down. It's not triggering you. It's a practice that is so life-changing that I'll talk about it to the day I die, because it seems so weird and mainstream to just appreciate all that is without judgment, because we're taught so much judgment and fear. And it is weird. I get it. And you want to talk about people, talking crap about you. I know one of my TikToks is going to do well because some of them don't, some of them get a few hundred, some of them get, tens of thousands of views. It's going to do well when people start trash talking my TikToks. I know that I'm onto something because it's triggering. It's triggering positive and it's triggering negative.
Isn't
And
that
people are
beautiful?
liking it and they're commenting.
Yeah.
And that way TikTok shows it to more people, and then it really takes off. And then I get to have all these great conversations with people. But the people that get triggered are so funny, because if I scroll on something and it's not my belief system, I just keep scrolling. I don't care. But if it triggers me, that means there's something there for me. And people don't always seem to realize that why don't you explore that trigger more than worrying about trolling me right now? But that's okay. But the trigger is something that's always worth looking at, because if
For
something has
sure.
the power to kick you into a lower vibration, you're allowing that. You're allowing it, and you don't have to if you don't want to. And lower vibration, even though we all go there and it has value, we're
Right.
not looking to stay there. That process of up, down, and up again doesn't flow correctly if you're holding yourself in that low vibration of fear and judgment and all those other lower vibrational emotions.
Agree. I think one of the things too that is interesting, detuning is a reset for the nervous system. because just the process of changing what you're doing when you're having, going to a low thought activity, just that in itself is a retrainment. It's a brain entrainment. And the reason it's brain entrainment is because you're shifting physically what you're doing to help people understand what detune means. If that is a newer, term for you, just imagine, just imagine taking something, you hear, it's like screeches. I would like to say AM radio, but I'm not even sure that anyone would understand what AM radio is. But it would be
We're
all like,
aging ourselves there. Yeah.
dude, like, I mean, this is scary, really. So, there's the thing called a radio, and you just go, and you wouldn't get any sound or any people, but you keep tuning. Imagine detuning kind of being like that until that it feels good. You get the vibration flow that you're wanting, and that is also detuning your nervous system. There's lots of modalities, somatic modalities out right now, and really Taya's detuning process does fall underneath it with one of the things that you can do as being, somatic movement, which is what retrains your nervous system and your brain and everything else. And that's kind of the reason it works, because whenever you're doing a practice, that's how that it becomes set in stone. Look, I had a brace on my leg, and I've had to walk a certain way for the last 6 weeks. I'm weaning myself off the brace, and guess what? My damn leg just wants to walk like it's got the brace on and doesn't want to bend the way that it needs
You
to
retrained
bend.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I want you to, to kind of seal the point of the detuning process and how that it actually is. I believe we should do research into this, because I believe that it actually retrains our nervous system. That's my personal belief. I don't know that I can't tell you that you're going to have the same experience, but I believe it's true. I think it's as good as EMDR, even though I haven't done it yet. EMDR, that is.
Yeah. I only know Taya. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is that, Taya came from the stream. I am not a student of all that other stuff, but Taya follows all of those other practices. And I created Taya before I even met Michael. My partner, Michael, is a psychologist. And, he talks about how mindfulness and all of, I forget the name of the doctor that he references all the time. But Taya follows all of that stuff. I'm like, that's pretty cool, because I've never been to therapy in my life. I've never studied spirituality much. I was into Abraham for a while before I got into
Right.
this. And the reason I did this is because Abraham, I think, focuses on one really lovely piece of the pie, which is law of attraction. But I was getting frustrated because I thought, well, there's so much more than just that. There's the value of the down and the low vibration. And that's what I've spent a lifetime teaching myself. And it works so well that I wanted to teach it to other people. Now I've spent 5 years teaching it to other people, and it works. And it's very straightforward, and it's very to the point, and it's not overly scientific, but it works the same way as all that other stuff. To me, it's just for the person that's aligned with that type of process. It's the perfect thing for them. Whereas something that's more scientific is probably right for somebody that needs something to be more scientific. We're not all the same. We don't all need the same process. But at the end of the day, when you are believing in your own healing, even doctors talk about the power of that. When you are believing in your own abundance, any successful person will talk to you about that. When you are healing your transgressors, when you are forgiving, I think forgiveness is a stop on the way to full-blown appreciation. We all know universally that that's helpful to us. And so Taya is just a practice that just marries all of that stuff into one thing and gives you the tools and the 4 pillars to work that as your way of life. Now, if you need it to be, have fancier language, then you'll probably move on to something else. I don't know, but it does work. It gives you everything that you need. And it's all rooted in that seeing the world through the eyes of source, meaning it's all good. It's all appreciation. It's all abundance. Yes, there are beings holding themselves away from abundance, and we've all held ourselves away from abundance at times. That is what expands us as beings, that holding ourselves from abundance. I do have another topic I want to dive into before we sign off.
Okay.
That you brought up. And I always like to talk about it when it's happening, the whole Mercury retrograde thing.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe it's true. I believe there's something to that, and I don't really pay attention to it. The only thing I ever have to say about Mercury retrograde is It's fun to be aware of these things and notice these things sometimes. But if you're allowing that to be a self-fulfilling prophecy like your horoscope can be, do you really want that? It's up to you. There's no rules in anything that I teach, but I prefer to operate my life in such a way that, because there are endless things that change our vibration.
Right.
What we eat, you know, definitely I think your time of birth and year of birth place you on a rhythmic path that's going to impact you.
Hmm.
Your belief system, all of these things come together to create a unique being in you, and you are going to navigate vibrational flow as you choose to.
Right.
So I would rather not pay attention to that stuff. This is just my personal belief. This isn't some, you got to go do this. But I would rather not know or pay attention to that, because I don't want to create scenarios to confirm that belief.
Kind of
Because
makes sense.
yeah, because I know I've had people, I've talked about this on here before. I had an employee in San Francisco that would not come to work during Mercury retrograde. And ultimately we fired her because she was
That's a
missing
long
work.
way.
Yeah, she was
That's a
missing. I
long
can't,
time.
Mercury's saying, well, yeah, you need to get out of the house and come to work. Well, I can't leave the house. Well, all these other people are leaving the house
That's
and they're
funny.
getting to work and they're functioning and life goes on. And maybe it's a little more challenging during this time. Who knows? But I'm not even noticing it.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to my vibe. I have the tools to raise my vibe no matter what's going on, whether Mercury's in retrograde or the house is burning down or there's a pandemic. I'm in charge of my vibration because it's how I react to vibrational flow. That is everything. Everything. So practice what you want. There's no rules in Taya, but
Right.
understand that if you're, I know we all geek out on this stuff because it's so powerful and it's interesting. But if you're geeking out on something that is causing you to follow a calendar and worry about a time period that's coming or blame everything that's going on in your life on that, then are you really empowering yourself?
That's a good question. Asking ourselves the question, hey, you know what? Maybe it's like this. Maybe discussing Mercury retrogrades became like the opposite of, like, we used to say, hey, how's the weather? Now it's like, hey, did you hear it's Mercury retrograde? Just
Yeah, well, we
saying.
have enough crazy weather in our 3D world to talk about that over
Jeez Louise. I mean,
retrograde for sure.
that, yeah, let's just send some extra love to Maui and all the
Yeah.
other places. It's a lot going on. This is a definite, interesting
Well,
period
we're
in
we're
time.
speeding up. This has been going
Yeah.
on for a long time.
Well,
I think COVID was the first big thing
I
that
heard,
sort of showed the planet that, hey, we're speeding up.
yeah, I heard the funniest thing. I hope they're going to add this one into the Bible. This whole thing, just this because it's big, you know. And I'm like,
It's
they were
biblical.
joking, and it's
Yeah.
biblical. Yeah, I just thought it was really funny. But yeah, no, but today's been great. I mean, what a really great reminder to just kind of take a check, slow down, being
Yeah.
content, be content.
Appreciate what is.
Yeah,
Appreciate what is, because it's what you've manifested, whether it's good or bad. The good or bad is all just an opinion. And it's what is. It's what I'm experiencing. And you can start practicing by recentering yourself. We call that a stopgap in Taya. We know the things that normally trigger you. Catch yourself at the beginning of the trigger, or even prior to it, if you can. Catch yourself and just say, "Wait a minute, is this worth going down my spiral over?"
such a great question to ask, and it's just, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and take a moment and commit myself to asking myself that question every time I feel a discomfort coming up in my spirit. So I'm just going to ask myself, is it worth going down my spiral? Which
Well,
is
and
a
just
really,
asking yourself that
yeah,
question will automatically change the momentum in the opposite direction, because you've caught yourself. When we spin out or spiral out, if you will, it's because we're reacting negatively to something that we've already manifested that should not be. And
correct.
then our continued judgment of it just fuels that. And we go down and down and down, and we're angry and we're in rage and some people make their whole life their whole life.
Right.
And so you don't have to choose that. Again, they're not understanding the process of creation. As you go down, you manifest the crap, and then you acknowledge the crap, you appreciate the crap, that sends you right back up. And going back up, you solve the crap. And often when you solve whatever your crap is in that moment, you've expanded. You might be doing something even bigger and better than you were before the dip.
Mm,
That's
hmm.
the process of creation. That's why these things exist.
Expansion. Growing pains.
Expansion of consciousness.
Make friends with
And we're
the
eternal
pain.
beings having a temporary experience. And when you start viewing life like that, none of us are immortal. We're here to move through human experiences. And the only reason we think there's a right or wrong way to live, our length of time, our method of exit, is just because we live in a matrix that says, oh, you're supposed to live to be, 99 years old. You're supposed to die peacefully in your home with your loving family surrounding you. I've already made peace with the fact that I might die alone somewhere. I might die in a nursing home surrounded by people that I don't even know. And I'm completely down with that.
Yeah.
Because why do I, this concept that I need to be surrounded by loved ones and it needs to be peace. That's lovely, but not everybody gets that. And then when we're judging it or we're fearing it,
Right.
what are you doing? You're manifesting it. I witnessed someone last year manifest their own demise in exactly the way they didn't want to do it. I witnessed it. I witnessed it in appreciation though of their path, because once they cross over, they expand in that process. But I literally saw someone manifest their crossing over exactly the way they did not want to ever do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen that happen too. So yeah, I fully understand that. That makes total
Yeah, but I
sense.
tell you, as an observer of that, a very close observer of that, because it was in my family, I was completely at peace with it. I've had a few of those. I had an uncle that killed himself at Christmas 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go down my spiral about it. I thought this was his journey. This is his path. This is
His
okay.
choice. Right,
This is
right.
what he's choosing.
But from that, the thing is that rather than judging what they've went through, recognizing that we're still here, it's all an opportunity to just choose to live your best life. How is that going to look? Using a lot of the tools we've talked about, and you really touched on a whole lot of really good stuff. But the word temporary is key, and everything is temporary. I am not who I was 10 years ago. It was temporary. And even raising my children, I'm still their mommy and I love them. But it was temporary to be with 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, it was temporary.
It's probably good that that's temporary, right?
I don't know.
Did you really like that time?
I freaking loved it. Yeah. So, yeah, but everything is, and the non-existence, the non-human existence of the people we've loved will show you that everything is temporary. And if you can keep that in your mind, you're not going to lose your cookies as much as you maybe have been.
Sage advice.
Woo! All
All
right.
right. Somebody said something nice. I'll put it up on the screen. Good stuff.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Recognize what your mind and body are experiencing. Thank you, Facebook user.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. I want to certainly, I appreciate all of you that joined us live, that commented, that participated, and all of you that are joining us in the future, watching this on the replay. I love that these are out there now forever on YouTube and in Facebook for people to go back and review, because we share a lot of good stuff on here, but we share good stuff because you all show up and your questioning summons this stuff from us. So thank you so much for watching.
Thank
Debbie,
you.
I'm glad you're doing better. Good to see you back.
Thank you.
And I intend to be back next Thursday.
Okay.
With
I can be
Debbie.
back. I'm going to be back next Thursday. See you next Thursday, y'all. Peace.
4 p.m. Pacific, wherever you're watching us, we'll be back. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.